Hello, everybody. Welcome to a market close. We are here on a red day, and we're going to take a look and see how the market is shaping up. We're going to ring the bell at 4 o'clock, of course. We're going to answer questions. We're going to talk a little bit about our good old buddy Jerome Powell, and yeah, we're just going to do a whole bunch of stuff. And well, look at this. This is a market close. You guys are already blowing up the chat. So let's start with the chat. We got Enid in the house saying, "I'm here watching." Awesome. And well, that's me. And then there's this. All right, I want to sort of explain this. So today, when I was doing, basically, I was scripting the 0 to 100 update. So that is coming out. Well, the channel members will be able to see it tomorrow, but everybody else will be able to see it on Friday. I had to remember what part of the week we were in. So when I was doing it, I was thinking, you know what? Because I know I was talking to, I can't remember who it was. Somebody was talking to me the other day, and they said that I would like to have the ability just to throw something into your challenge. I was like, oh, well, I don't really have it set up for that, because currently the way I set it up is I set it up $500 every single month, and that's cool. I'm going to keep doing that $500, but going forward, starting today, anytime I get any kind of a super chat or a super thanks or what's the other one? Super stickers. So any of the supers, that's all going straight into the challenge. So I did one right. I did one at the beginning, and this is going into the challenge. So for February, our total going into the pot on that TFSA challenge is now $510. So just for those of you who want to throw a couple cents in, you're more than welcome to. The ability is there. So we're going to do that going forward. All right. We've got Vancouver Isle guy in the house. Boo-ba-doo. And we have Perlova saying, bit of a boring day on the market. Well, the first part of the market was boring, but it's short. So I almost, once again, I cannot pronounce words. It certainly had an interesting ending. And that all has to do with that Fed hike, with the Fed meeting on their interest rate hike. Well, in this case, it was a pause. So, for those of you who haven't heard, the Fed has maintained. So it's between 5 and 5 and a quarter. They're keeping it at that rate for now. There was also talk as well. It was actually interesting. The actual meeting itself. So when everybody was a little bit antsy, so the market started off a little bit in the red today. There wasn't a lot of stuff happening because, well, nobody wants to trade. You're either going to make your moves already early, or you're just going to wait and see what happens with the rate hike meeting, and that's what happened. So the rate hike meeting itself, it was fine. It wasn't really hawkish. It really wasn't dovish. It was kind of very much middle of the road. And the market, not a lot actually happened in the market. But it wasn't until the reporter questions. The reporter questions is where we got the full taste of red. And the question that did it, and I watched this question, it was hilarious. They asked him about, they kept on trying to get out of Powell whether or not there's going to be a rate cut in March. And he tried to avoid the question for the longest time, but he finally came around and he said, okay, there's pretty much 0% chance of that happening in March. He used his own words, but that's basically what it boiled down to. And at that point, wow, boy, the market went very, very red. So yeah, the chances of a March rate cut in the U.S. are now gone, and the market responded to it because the market had kind of priced in that there was a good probability of a March cut, but now we know that that's not going to happen. So that's kind of why the market got really, really interesting towards the end of the day. And we're going to take a look at it all here in just a moment. Let's just get caught up here with chat a tiny bit. Stan's in the house. Hello, all. Paul says, oh, Paul's off on a course at 12:45. So he'll be watching the replay. Well, hello, Paul, on the replay. Balik is in the house with a good old hey, hey. And here's our legend Skiz, the guy who could not win a free membership over the big membership giveaway. I still feel bad about that, Skiz. Next year, if we do the same thing, I don't know. I tend not to repeat, but I do like giving away memberships too. Change to spares in the house with a good old hey, folks. Let's see. Uh-oh, sound problems. Really? Oh, I'm echoing. Well, that's weird. I'm not sure why I'm echoing. I will. There, I just turned off my mic and put it back on. We'll see if that helps at all. That's kind of weird. Um, and maybe I should ask, am I echoing for everybody? That's a good question to ask right there, because I know listening to somebody who's echoing is just absolutely not that fun. So, okay, so there we go. Jordan's in the house. Good afternoon, my friend Candace. Hope you're well. I am very well. Thank you very much. Oh, and Change the Spare said, oops, that was on my end. Sorry. You're good. And nope to that as well. All right. Oh dear. Yes, and no echo for Amanda. No, it was on Change the Spare's end. So there was no echo. No echo. And by the way, Amanda W in the house. Mario in the house. Awesome. Oh, it's good to see you guys. All right, just give me a second here. Let's first of all pull up the market itself. I'd rather pull up the market opposed to, where is my market? Oh, for the banana bread. My market has disappeared. My market has completely disappeared. All right, well, we'll pull up this one here. We'll pull up the heat map first. All right, so let's pull up the heat map. So I'll get Mario out of the way so it pulls me down a little bit. So you guys can see it was a very, very, very red day here on the market. Look at this. You got Royal Bank negative 1.47, TD's down, BMO, CM, CNQ's down, Shopify's down. Now CP is a nice little green spot. Look at them, up 1.80%. That's not too shabby. So for the most part, most things were down, except for the few exceptions. The American chart, just as red. Look at that. Oh, look at Google. Google down 7.24%. Are you looking for an entry point into Google? Well, you got it this afternoon. Let's see, Amazon down, Tesla. Well, Tesla's always down, it seems. Yeah, just craziness. Do we have anybody in the US? Let's just pull it up here and pull up the let's see here. BA up 5.15%. ADP, so ADP up almost 3%. They're they do payroll and also staffing, so staffing solutions. So you have those as different options. Let's take a look at crypto. Crypto, pretty darn red as well. Bitcoin's down just a tiny bit, 0.51%. There's Ethereum down 1.99%. Let's see, Solana's down. So yeah, we've got a lot of things down. So that's kind of interesting. Okay, let me see here. There is one other thing I wanted to do. Oops, there we go. Just seeing if I can find it. Where did it go? No, it is gone. It is gone. All right. Well, that doesn't matter. I can open this up because I know the website address. All right. So we're going into TradingView. That's where I keep my my normal stuff here. Let's see here. I'm not going to worry so much with this side, but look at this. Look at this. The TSX was down 204. So basically, oops, going to give me a second here. Let's pull that out a little bit. There we go. Down almost a full percent. The S&P 500 was down 1.6%. Gold's down. Oil's down. Bitcoin's down. The U.S. dollar is doing okay. Now, I did figure out the watch list on here. Now, I did make, and I'm going to show you this. I made a watch list for the 0 to 100 challenge. And yeah, we can sort of see everybody is down. You know, even HMM, I expected them to be down, though I did expect Hammond to correct. But I'm going to pull these guys up here. Let's just grab this up here. So this is what happened on Hammond this week, guys. This is that big explosion that happened. And they've maintained it really well with the market being as down as it is. Um, you know, once we go back into the green, whether that be tomorrow or Friday, I you never know. You just never know. Here's the beautiful thing. I did add 3 more Hammond to the 0 to 100 challenge this time around. I think I bought them somewheres around here. So, because it was, yeah, no, it was probably down about here. And they, so I caught all of that on those extra 3 that I added into the challenge. So, it's a small little thing, but sometimes the small little things make me happy, and that definitely did. All right, let's see here. Change to spare says, so open text is the only thing not read in my portfolio today, and we have open text here. Let me see here. Let's pull it up and let's take a look. So here's open. Look at this. This is fantastic. Those they did come down. I mean, open text did have a big drop here. You can sort of see this nice red candle. But they've been doing really well. They are a tech company, so that's not too shabby. We got Sammer in the house, and JB is in here saying, "What a day! What a day!" Yes, absolutely. Now that I have this set up, I am going to move our watch list. So the community watch list, I'm going to move it over to here. I haven't done it yet, so we still have the old one set up. So we will pull that up here after the bell. So the bell is coming up pretty darn soon. So it's going to be fun. Yeah, but just take a look at this, and I wanted to take a look at Bitcoin as well. So I need to go back to my other watch list here. All right, so here's good old Bitcoin. Now this is the Fed meeting, by the way. Bitcoin was actually having a pretty good day, rebounding up, and then we had the Fed meeting, and Bitcoin didn't like that meeting very well, or at least the holders of Bitcoin. But now they are hitting some support levels here, so we're probably going to see this bounce back up a bit tomorrow, which is going to be kind of fun. What's going to happen with the rest of the market, though? It's hard to say. I mean, I think we're probably going to see a bit of green once people sort of settle down with this whole issue of us not getting a rate cut down the U.S. in March. I mean, I thought there was a chance in March, but I'm thinking May. I'm still thinking May for both Canada and the U.S. So yeah, let's actually remove that for a moment. Bring me back up to a full screen as we're minutes away from the market closing. We'll get final numbers, of course, on the things as everything closes. So yeah, definitely a good day. I haven't yet mentioned Blossom yet on this stream. So most of you probably already know all about Blossom. But for those of you who don't, Blossom is a social media app that is designed, well, for investors. We are moving it into the U.S., so we're now pulling U.S. folks in as well as Canadian, but most of it is Canadian. It is owned by, Brandon Beavis is one of the owners, him and Max and a few other people. It is a really, really, really good app. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out below. There is a link in the extra information part of this stream. You'll find a link there for Blossom. Check it out. If you get over there, follow me. I'll follow you back. I love interacting with folks over on the good old Blossom. All right. Whew. We're about a minute and 20 seconds away from the good old bell. So now, guys, whatever you guys want to talk about this afternoon, throw your questions in there. We will answer anything, everything. We'll pull up charts. We'll do whatever you guys want to do. So that's kind of the flavor of these market closes. I'm trying to think if there was anything else pertinent that I wanted to mention. Oh, I did want to mention as well, with the channel members, they have a channel members choice video every month. So the last video of each month is theirs. And this month it was the moat video. So the moat video was theirs. And they actually asked for 2. They didn't. They asked for me to do both US and Canada. But quite honestly, I didn't want to make a 20-minute video, so I'm splitting that up. So we did the Canada one that came out yesterday, or was it? Yeah, it was yesterday. Then next Monday or next Tuesday, we'll have a US version of that come out. So And we're going to look at that as well. I'm also going to be dropping pretty soon the votes for our next deep dive, because we have a deep dive next week as well, which is fantastic. And back to the channel members again, we are going to be doing the we're going to start looking for what you guys want me to do in the channel member exclusive live stream, because that is coming up this month for February. It's pretty darn soon, and here we go. Whoa. This day has closed finally. Oh, and for some people who have been looking at these reds, they may be like, thank God it's finally closed. For others, there's been some buying opportunities, no doubt. I know, I think Paul, who isn't here, did a whole rebalance before Powell's speech to free up some money and take advantage if it did dive into the red, which it kind of did. So that does happen. All right. And there was the bells. Yep, we got the bells. Skiz says, red day, markets closed. Yes, it is. That is always a good thing. All right. And let's look at our final numbers on the day. We'll pull up the screen. Here we go. So the S&P 500, 1.61% down on the day. The TSX, pretty much out, let's say 1%. It's kind of 0.97%, but as far as I'm concerned, that's as close to 1 as we're going to get. Gold was down. West Texas Intermediate was down, and Bitcoin was down. But we got the Bitcoin chart up. I did mention that we were hitting some supports. We we're probably going to see a bounce up there, and it looks like that's what is happening. So that is going to be very, very, very interesting to see. And look at that. It's actually moving right now. As we're watching, it is moving. That's one of the interesting things with crypto. It moves all the time. So there's no downtime on the crypto market. All right. And we'll take one last glimpse at the heat map. So yeah, CP, once again, our only really big green in there. US heat map. Let's turn everything back on. There we go. US heat map, just nice and red. There is a little bit of green down here in distribution. What is that? Let's just pull that up there. So BSX, MCK, COR. So a little bit of green, but mostly in the red. And of course, once again, cryptocurrency, a lot of red. So definitely a red day. So that is just the way it crumbled today. All right. Let's bring me back up a full screen, and we'll get back to the chat. So Bradley Talks Money is in the house. Hello, Bradley. Good to see you. Do you think there is much to be gained investing in the Canadian markets when it's such a small market versus US, Asia, and Europe? That's a really good question. So one of the things I always tell people is you shouldn't be ignoring our neighbors to the south, because they're a huge market. There's a lot of money to be made in investing in the US. And a lot of times too, like if you're a trader, so let's say, for example, you do swing trading or day trading, in the US market, you've got a lot more volume. That, of course, leads to more volatility, which can be more opportunity. So I definitely think, as a Canadian investor, I don't think you should be ignoring any markets, really, any opportunity. So the US market, for sure, that I think is something that as Canadians will have a better idea of being able to understand it, understand some of the companies, because these are companies that we've all been exposed to forever. India is another one. I think we've been talking about this for a while. India is another market that's absolutely exploding. Their economy is just fantastic. It is on fire. So they are a great place to look. And there are other markets like like there's the UK markets, there's the China markets, Australia, for example, as well. So there are a lot of good markets out there. So I don't think you should ignore them. And if you're not comfortable, for example, investing in US markets or India markets, for example, that's where ETFs can come in. That's where you can have an opportunity to at least get some exposure to those markets through ETFs. But at the same time, it doesn't hurt to look, especially the US. I would say if you're going to ignore markets, don't ignore the US market, because there is a lot of opportunity there. Now, in the 0 to 100K challenge, I've only touched Canadian stocks so far, but that is going to change very, very soon. Skid says, I think there is, especially within a TFSA. Yeah, I'm not sure what that was in reference to, Skiz, but Bradley adds, Australia has the same size market as Canada. So if you, an investor, is invested in Canada, then why not in Australia? Very similar market. There's absolutely no reason why you can't. And that's the whole thing with diversification. A lot of times we think of diversification across sectors, but international exposure is definitely good. And there are opportunities there. Now, you may not understand the companies as much if you're coming in fresh, but that's what the fundamentals are for. Learning to read fundamentals, learning to go through financial statements, you can learn a lot. And then, also the news, just hit the news, find out about a company, for example. JB says, I wish Mr. Math would be my friend. He doesn't seem to like me. Oh, Mr. Math I'm sure Mr. Math likes you, JB. But yeah, I can understand that. Some people hate the math. And it's kind of interesting. I have seen people who, a lot of times they just leave everything to the broker. They're like, oh, I'll just let the broker calculate everything for me. It's still better to actually understand the numbers in your portfolio and understand what things are doing. Most of the math is not that complicated. If you can add, subtract, multiply, divide, convert things to percentages, for the most part, that will serve you pretty well when you're looking at some of the data, and that's pretty good. Skid says, JB, you're not his type. There we go, JB. Apparently, Mr. Math is not. I don't know what. I think Mr. Math. We had a Mrs. Math as well, so I think Mr. Math is actually married anyway. So, but yeah. Anyway, we'll just leave that one alone. Change to Spare says, I hold ETFs on other markets that are traded on the TSX, and I hold stocks in Canada. I just hate dealing with exchange rates and taxes. Understandable. So what I like to do for US stocks is maintain, for example, you can do this through Wealthsimple, or I do it through National Bank direct brokerage. You can have a US account, and that US account will hold US cash. So the only time you're going to have some of these fees is when things are moving from Canadian to, for example, we'll use US, from Canadian to US dollar. Then once you're in there, it's just as though you were in America. It doesn't really matter because you can make all of your trades. So with National Bank, for example, it's commission free. So you can do all of your trading commission free. Of course. Now, when I say it's like you're in America, just remember, though, it doesn't exempt you from any of the tax situations. So withholding tax, you're still going to get hit with it, even though you're investing in an American account. So Ian throws in, I'm heavily exposed to Australia with BHP, RIO, and WDS. There we go. So there we go. Yeah. Yeah. It's whenever I start to fumble words, it's time for my Starbucks moment. Starbucks, you're supposed to sponsor me. Come on, guys, hurry up. Oh, that's good. So yes, being exposed to Australia is not a bad thing at all. Australia, as Bradley had mentioned, Australia is a very strong market. It is comparable to Canada. The UK market, I think, is another really good market. Also, of course, the US market. So even if, the way I look at it is, it's probably very easy to learn companies and to do all of your due diligence on different English-speaking countries, I find, if English is your only language. Whereas if I was to go, like, for example, if I start investing in the Chinese market, I may have to rely on translations to get some of the information that I'd like to do in, depending on the company. But yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Ian says almost half of your portfolio is exposed to Australia. Nice. I think Bradley will like that. Bradley says, you can use banks such as EQ Bank to open USD accounts and transfer funds directly into your brokerage in USD, which avoids the 1.5 conversion fee that Wealthsimple charges. There we go. There we go. Now, Canadian in a T-shirt has that whole Norberg thing. Norberg. It has that whole conversion thing with not Wealthsimple, but with Questrade, Norbert Gambit. So that sounds to me like this might be a little bit easier. And EQ Bank is fantastic. If you guys have not tried EQ Bank, I highly recommend them. I use them as my main bank. And yeah, if you can transfer things directly in through EQ Bank into a US, that's actually really, really cool. That's a good idea, Bradley. Thank you for bringing that up. Because I know, especially over on the Facebook group, there have been some chats in there where people have been talking like crazy about, well, conversion. So that's exactly. Ian says, I was wrong. Blossom says 27% in Australia, 16% in United Kingdom, and 58% in Canada. Oh, there we go. That's one other beautiful thing about Blossom, guys, is that you can get some really good breakdowns on your portfolio. So, for example, when I do my videos on the 0 to 100K challenge, that's where I get my diversification breakdowns by sector. So I do use that for that. And there's a lot of other different statistics. Now, here's the thing. I don't know. I don't know exactly which statistics are for the free version because I got the pro version and I was just like, I should have wrote down everything I got on the free version before I went over to pro. Because I know pro does give you a little bit more, but I think you get a pretty good mix on the free version as well. I'll have to pick probably there's a few of you who have the free version. I'll pick your minds one of these days and find out exactly what the difference is. Ian says, I don't know what the United Kingdom stocks are. Maybe RIO. I don't know. I was watching actually a YouTuber from the UK at one point, but you know, I honestly wasn't paying super attention to it right now. But yeah, right now, at the very least, you can certainly look into ETFs, add some ETFs, get some exposure to different countries. You know, it is all pretty good. Ian says, where is my 16% coming from? So that's the UK, right? Do you have any of the all equity ETFs in your portfolio? Because that might be where some of it's coming from. So a lot of these ones like XEQT, VEQT, those do have a good exposure to a lot of different markets. That's one of the reasons I do like an all equity, because that all equity will give you exposure to a lot of different countries as well as emerging markets. So emerging markets are basically markets that are on the rise. So, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all. And I think as well, a lot of people keep bringing up ZID. So that's a ETF that looks at the India market. So that's another option as well. Let's see, FTO, FRO. Okay. Skiz says, wouldn't BP be a big one? British Petroleum. I probably would say that British Petroleum wouldn't be a bad one. Now, you keep in mind, too, there are a lot of companies that are listed on the TSX that might even be headquartered out of Britain, for example. So, you know, let's take a look at British Petroleum. I will bring up our screen again, and we'll. Oh, it is here. Look at that. No, that's because I opened it. Never mind. I was having a brain fart. Let's see here. Let's see. British American tobacco. That's not what we were looking for. Let's see. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything here. Let's just take a look here. So let's see. BP. Yeah, so right now I'm not seeing it on here, but I need another screener to do up other countries. And I'll admit, I haven't looked a lot at them. So Bradley caught the whole community with their pants down. It's like none of us are looking at the British stocks or Australia for that matter. But I will pull up, for example, I know that we keep talking about ZID. So let's pull this up. So this here is the BMO India Equity Index ETF. So we'll pull this up over here, and we'll just take a look at the last 3 years. So you can see that, India has been pulling up. So we're now at what, 44.23, and so it's been growing. Now, here's the thing about India. India's economy is doing really, really great. And part of the reason for that is that India they have a really big population. They have just recently surpassed China as being the most populous country in the world. Now, an interesting thing here, you take Canada. So Canada, we're in a situation where our fertility rate is actually an issue. Normally what you need to sustain a population, you need a fertility rate of 2.1. So basically, every person with a womb should be producing 2.1 people. Obviously you don't want to create a part of a person, but that's just an average. So 2.1 is what we're looking at. In Canada, I think right now, I believe I saw something today that said we're at 1.3. So that's one of the reasons why immigration is really important in trying to get enough people in. But we've been kind of letting way too many people in too fast. But we do need to keep a good supply of it, because the problem is, if we don't replenish the people and our population starts to shrink, well, that will shrink our GDP, and that will not be good for the economy. So that's just one of those things to sort of keep in mind. All right. Whoops, here we go. Ian says, I only own 11 stocks. Only thing I have that's like an ETF is Canoe. So Canoe is an income fund. So it's kind of an interesting thing. We'll pull it up. Why not? We're here. EIT.UN. So good old Canoe. So they're a income fund. We'll just take a look at them over the last 3 years. So Canoe's been doing a little bit better lately. Well, they've been coming up a little bit, creeping back towards 13. I want to go further back here. So it's kind of interesting. Anytime you look at a longer chart like this, like a 5-year, there's the pandemic. You can see it. You will see this on almost every chart. So it's kind of neat. So, but you got to go to the 5-year, because we're now, believe it or not, we're now 3 years beyond the beginning of that pandemic. But here's the interesting thing with, give me a second here, with Canoe. And this has been one of these things that people have been kind of concerned about, is that, Canoe has this 10-cent dividend, and it's been that way for a long time. So you can go back and go back. We're back in 2021, 2020, still 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017. So yeah, they haven't changed it in forever. Now, part of it is when you actually look at Canoe and their business model, they maintain that income even if they don't have the money to pay it. So what they end up doing in that case is you will run into a little bit of return of capital with Canoe. So Canoe is one of these companies. I mean, I like them. I do like them a lot. I like their management team, but I would never hold them outside of a registered account. So that's kind of one of those things. So they, the 10 cents, as far as I'm concerned, it's, because I know Ian right here saying, I don't mind the 10 cents if it's sustainable. It's not even so much that it's sustainable. It's that they've kind of got the whole thing designed. So if they don't have enough to pay out the 10 cents, they're going to do a return of capital, which basically means that your adjusted cost base is going to come down a little bit. So that's why, I like to hold these guys in a registered account. Because if you're in a situation where you're holding them in a non-registered account and they're knocking down your adjusted cost base, well, then when you do sell, you're going to end up paying more taxes, because for that reason, you're going to have a much bigger capital gain than what you would have had if they hadn't been doing this. So just one of those things to keep in mind with Canoe. They are fantastic, but they're not like the best stock out there in the world. They're a great stock in your registered account. Outside of your registered, I wouldn't hold them personally. There's also, some people may argue as well, like I'll show you, I think in my last video, we sort of touched on this company here. So PEY. So PEY is similar, it has a similar price to Canoe. So it's the Pado Exploration and Development Corp. we look at them 5 years, they've had much more of growth, and they've got a crazy dividend. Like their dividend is 10.13%, and their actual the actual payout ratio on that is actually much lower than Canoe's. I can't remember what it is exactly off the top of my head, but here's the nice thing about these guys. Let's pull it in here. So they're not that far off in price from Canoe, but they're 11 cents. And you are and this is just since 2023. They used to be 5 cents. But once again, oil and gas, there's a lot of money there. So they're not a bad company to take a look at. So just one of those things to sort of keep in mind. So, that's kind of a neat little company right there. So that's the way I look at it. So, all right. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, we got some stuff coming up here. Whoops. There we go. My camera started shaking because the way I've got it set up on this tripod is on the desk. And if I tap the desk in any way, it's like I'm having an earthquake here, but I'm not really. So milestones, we're coming up on the 3,000. So I have promised you guys a parody. So a parody news. So it'll be like this week, except for it's going to be, I'll make it as a video, and it's going to be, maybe, 8 or 10 parody news stories. And we'll just sort of put it together, and I'll come up with some clips and all of that fun stuff. So that's coming up at 3,000. Now, I know I said 5,000 would be the open to close live stream. And oh, wow, that's going to be a day. I'll need like a constant supply of, make this bigger. Starbucks is not going to see it. Constant supply of coffee. So Starbucks, that would be a great day for you to be, a sponsor. This is good. And if you become a sponsor, I'll actually drink Starbucks coffee opposed to just using your mug. So keep that in mind. I will do that for you guys. Yeah, so I'm thinking of moving that to the 4,000. And then we'll think of something else for 5,000. Who knows when 5,000 is? But watch, my luck. I'll have like a video drop that goes absolutely viral, and I'll have to do the 3,000 and 4,000 like within a couple days of each other. I doubt that. I mean, this has been... with this channel, I've found that it's been it's basically a slow, steady growth. We just keep on getting bigger and bigger, but that's kind of cool. I'm okay with that. However long it takes, we'll be fine. So 3,000, which is coming up really soon. I've already started making plans on this one. So I think right now we're at 2967. So another 33 subs, and that could happen pretty quickly. So it'll definitely be in February. I don't think, it'll definitely be in February. But then for 4,000, we'll do the open to close because I kind of want to do that one too. So I think that one will be a lot of fun. And then we'll have to think of something big for 5,000. So we'll have to look and, try to figure that one out. So just to recap though, at 1,000, we did the drunk stream. So I got to drink, and I'm not a drinker. So it didn't take much before I was very, very sloshy. Sloshy financial news. Then at the 2,000, we did the Hot Ones challenge. So I was breathing fire for that one. So doing the comedy thing at 3,000 is going to be much easier than breathing fire for sure. So let's keep that in mind. And then 4,000, we'll do that. What is it? It's like 7 hours or something, however long the market is open. So that will be a lot of fun. All right. Skiz is thrown in. Starbucks better seriously consider that offer. Think of the marketing exposure. Yeah, exactly. Or, hey, if Tim Hortons is watching, I'll do you guys as well. You have to give me a mug. I don't have a Tim Hortons mug. And Vancouver guy missed that one. So you may have missed both of those ones. Cause like I said, the alcohol one and the hot sauce one. 5,000 we'll have to do something very, very special. And then we'll figure out how we're going to, we'll figure it out from 5,000. Right now, I'm not worried. Right now, I'm focused on that 3,000. We'll get that done. We'll have some fun. It will be a great stream. All right. Guys, if you guys want any more questions answered, throw them in there. I'd hate to end early if I don't have to, but we'll put that in. And now, once again, I'll mention this again. I mentioned it at the beginning. Give me a second here. I need to pull this down here. Here we go. All right. So I'm gonna do this one more time, I think. Here we go. There we go. And then, we'll do it this way. We'll do it as a sticker. Let's do it as a sticker here. All right. All right. We're going to do this here as a good old sticker. All right. There we go. Boom. Done. All right. So, as I said, going forward, anytime we get a super sticker, a super thanks, or a super whatever, a super chat, that's it. Anytime we get any of those, that's going straight into the 0 to 100K challenge. So right now, I did 2 today. I had planned to do 2. So, that's basically $520 that goes in the challenge for February. And then, of course, anything that anybody does, whether doesn't matter on what it's on, any video, whatever. Yeah, we're going to do that. All right. Now, Mehdi is in the house with a hi, Candace. Hello. It is good to see you. Long time lurker. Nice. I know I've got lurkers out there, and every so often I hear about a lurker. I remember one time I had this lurker, and his wife came on and joined the chat and wanted me to give him a shout out because he was too shy. So I was like, sure, absolutely. And that's what we did. That's absolutely what we did. All right. So Mr. Kevin, the Vancouver Isle guy, wants to know, what do I think about NVIDIA? NVIDIA is in a really good position with AI. And not just AI. I'm going to take this on 2 folds. Because they make chips, there's a huge demand for chips, and that demand could potentially become even more than we think. So with AI, yeah, a lot of a demand for sure. So it's going to continue to go up. Also, if Bitcoin does crazy things after the halvening, now mind you, when the halvening happened, it's not going to be like you wake up that day and all of a sudden Bitcoin is floating around the moon. Sometimes there tends to be a bit of a ramp up. But if Bitcoins does start to ramp up, you could see a higher demand for people who want to do mining. And if that happens, well, holy banana bread. That's going to be really, really interesting. And that will create even more of a demand. And also keep in mind, too, the U.S. has continued to be moving away from Chinese chips. So as a result, I think NVIDIA is in a really sweet spot right now. So let's see here. Whoops. So Kevin says, I just got in. Don't leave. Yeah. Oh, you just got in. Okay. Don't leave. Kevin just arrived. Okay. We'll ask questions, Kevin. Yeah. If you guys ask the questions, I don't leave. That's the deal. So we got to put that down there. Ian says, I had to get up early to move this morning, so I'm kind of out of energy and can't think of anything to ask. Oh, you moved already? Didn't you just move to Colombia? Did you get a better place in Colombia? What's up with that? So Kevin wants to think. You want to think of a question? All right, I will give Kevin a moment to think of a question. A little bit about the deep dives. Those of you who, of course, have been here for a while, you guys know how the deep dives work. Anybody who's new may not know how our deep dives work. So the way a deep dive works is very, very simple. I have a list. So I have a pool. So the pool is just a list of people. Not people, but stocks. So when you guys say, okay, do a deep dive on Scotiabank, I throw BNS onto this list. And if you're a channel member, I put a little mark next to you that says channel member, because I always take the channel member ones from the pool first. And then what I do is before every deep dive, I have five companies. And then you guys vote. Whoever wins gets the deep dive. It's as simple as that. Now, whoever gets the least amount of votes, they get eliminated. So they're gone. So they don't get to come back for the next vote. And of course, whoever I do the deep dive on doesn't come back. So potentially 3 will come back. And then the channel members, they voted to only allow a company to have 3 weeks in a row. So if, let's say, Scotiabank was in there, I put it in the vote, and week 1 it doesn't get it, week 2 it doesn't get it, week 3 it doesn't get it, even if it is coming in second, all 3, it's gone. It's gone. I mean, I'll still throw it back in every so often because, you know, it's always good to revisit some of these stocks, but that's kind of how it works. So when it comes to deep dives, 100% up to you guys. I just manage the pool, and I get that all out there and add up the votes and everything for you. All right. Naylor is in the house saying, anyone else pick up some of the purpose YNVD when they launched? So that there is the high yield NVIDIA. So that's giving you a little bit of a yield on that. So that's probably not a bad stock. The only problem is with a covered call version of NVIDIA is that when there's an explosion in the stock, you get your upside gets capped with covered calls. But for the most part, it's still a good little income that's coming in. And it is exposure to NVIDIA. So there's nothing wrong with that. I'm pretty sure a couple of people before have mentioned to me that they have been looking at NVIDIA. All right. Ian says, I moved to a place with a jacuzzi and a nice bar across the street. Holy banana bread, Ian. I think I want to move to Colombia now. Oh, once again. Oh, excuse me. I drank that a bit too fast. Bradley says, when businesses create monopolies, others start to encroach on the customer base. With that in mind, can NVIDIA keep market share, or will other businesses, so AMD, Intel, Google, Microsoft, Apple? I think it's going to be a situation where when the tide rises, they're all going to go up. I think NVIDIA right now is far in ahead. They've got the head start. So I think they're still going to do good. Now, what you will see happening is as some of these businesses encroach on it, is you will see some of the crazier growth that NVIDIA has seen, you'll see that start to taper off a bit. So they'll still be growing, maybe not quite as fast as some of these other companies do start to eat in a little bit. But for now, I still think NVIDIA is heads, basically a head above of everybody else. So I still like NVIDIA. But keep in mind, I also really love Apple. So Apple's one of these companies that even when they're doing bad, they may have some stuff under. Apple's very good at keeping what they're working on under their belt. So I expect something to happen probably this year with Apple that nobody's expecting, but we'll have to sort of see. Ian says, I'm still in Colombia. The bathroom here had a vaulted ceiling and glass walls, so it's fun to sing in. Oh, yikes. Let's see. Jerry says, what do you think of UEC? That's a good question. Let me take a look at UEC here. Oops. We will. Give me a second here. I need to bring up. Where is it? There it is. All right, let's bring this up. There we go. It went and all right, UEC. Let's pull this up. Uranium. I do like uranium, so let's take a look here. Let's take a look and see what they've done. So yeah, look at this. I mean, uranium right now is on a climb, and a lot of it is, anybody who's seen my uranium royalty corp video, that pretty much applies. Like what I was talking about for uranium with that applies to pretty much everybody. So there is a big push towards nuclear power. Now, nuclear power is not as dangerous as the press likes to make it out. Take, for example, nuclear waste. And I think I mentioned this on the live stream on Sunday. Nuclear waste is actually solid. It's not like barrels of liquid goo that glows. It's basically solid, and it's melted into the middle of insanely big concrete, like to the point that the barrels they put them in, they're they're probably 2 to 3 stories high. You could actually sit next to one of these barrels and you wouldn't have any radiation issues at all. But yeah, so nuclear power is safe. It is a move away from oil and gas. Oil and gas is still going to be strong, though, for a long time. But this is a move in the right direction. I think it is going to be huge. You're going to see smaller nuclear plants as well be built. So uranium is in that unique position where there's going to be a high demand for it for a long time. So I think that's one of the reasons you're starting to see things like this. All right. Midi says, would you mind looking at Algoma Century? All right, let's take a look at this. ALGOMA. All right, Algoma Centric Corporation. All right, let's take a look here. We'll take a quick gander and see what they're doing here. Okay, so their prices come down a little bit, but they seem to be making a little bit of a rebound here. Let's see, they've got a 5.03%. Their EPS is positive. What do they do here? Let's see, they operate, okay, dry and liquid bulk carriers operating in the Great Lakes. Okay. Gears, let's see, product. Okay, so they're more or less pretty much supply chain oriented. That's pretty good. I'm going to go in and check one of my favorite statistics here. Here we are, return on equity. So right here, 13.37%. Okay. It is interesting. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that I would like to see things a little bit better, but I think they probably, let's go back here. Just give me 1 second. Go back to the overview and let's pull this up. I'm going to go to a much longer. So this is the 10-year. So yeah, okay. Pandemic right there. So they have come down a little bit, but I think they're probably a solid company. Now, keep in mind too, when you start getting higher dividends, and I don't know what their payout ratio is on that dividend, that can sometimes impact. So they're not putting everything towards growth. But at the same time, they are supply chain. That is good. That does provide a little bit of protection. So I would say this is a company I would watch because there is potential. There's potential that they could do really well once we move into a full bull market. Yeah, I would say there's potential there. It's not something I'm not excited. Like I didn't get excited immediately, but I'm not disappointed either. So I'm kind of on the middle road on this one, but there's nothing in their statistics that I don't like. Like there's nothing that really holds out. Now there's one other thing I didn't look at. Let's just take one quick look. And that is their, let's see, their debt to equity ratio. Oh, look at this. So 0.51. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. So they don't have a lot of debt. I like them a little more. I like them a little more when I see low debt. All right. Let's pull away from that. We'll get back here. Bradley says, Ontario runs primarily on nuclear. It's got a bad rap in the past. Yeah, there's a lot of nuclear power in Ontario for sure. Yeah, and that's the whole thing, that whole bad rap. Like if you were to take, just to give you a general idea, if you were to take every single nuclear power plant in North America and take the nuclear waste from all of it, you could fit it in a single hole, not even a big hole. It's not like a lot of people get this whole image that there's tons of nuclear waste, or they watch The Simpsons and they see all these glowing bars and goo and stuff like that. It's not that bad at all. So that's something just to sort of keep in mind. Nuclear is a lot safer. Now, where you do have issues, let's say, for example, if you build a nuclear power plant on a fault line, yeah, there could be some concerns if there were a big earthquake, or with something like Fukushima, where, you put it in a place where you could have, tsunami. There's no reason to build it on the shore of a country prone to tsunamis. You can build these things inland. There's stable places. You can build nuclear power plants in Alberta, and run the power, to like BC. And even then, I mean, BC doesn't get a lot of earthquakes, but they could get one. That's the whole thing. But even then, you just build it a little bit stronger to hold it. If we get the big one, I think we're going to be a lot more worried about a lot of other things than nuclear power. And see, Ian says, sometimes when Apple makes new products, I think, man, that's useless, but it ends up being a big thing. Apple Pay is bigger than I expected. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, this stream is pretty much Apple. Like I'm using my iPhone as the camera. I'm using my Mac Studio. I've also got my MacBook Pro. Over here are my, can you see them? My AirPods. I mean, I got a lot of Mac stuff. And now they're coming out with these new Vision. Oh, I really want one of those. But I'll hold off for a while, probably. Yeah, and that was a shipping company. Jerry says Iceland has that problem right now. Yeah, Iceland right now has an active volcano. So that's always, it's kind of interesting. I mean, Iceland's a bit different in a situation. So for example, if you look at the volcanoes that you get around the Ring of Fire, so like take a North American volcano, something like Mount St. Helens, it's much more explosive because you have crust. So you have like the Pacific crust coming under the North American crust like this. It's melting, creating gas, and then boom. Whereas in Iceland, it's actually kind of different because what's happening in Iceland is you've got two plates pulling away. So it's sort of pulling away and it's making new land in between volcanoes, of course, but you don't have the high gas content. So you tend to not have the super, super explosive ones that you can get when you've got subduction going on with a plate. So anyway, a little bit of geology there. Ian says, SPX up 1.16%, AQN down 1.85%. They are both utility companies. I'm surprised they are not doing the same direction today. Keep in mind, there's a lot of different factors. Everything, even from how a company is managed. What other holdings that company has. Those can all help influence how much it goes up and down. So you're always going to see differences between something like CPX and AQN. Also, how much debt they have. So that's just another thing to put in mind as well. Vancouver Isle guy, Mr. Kevin says, yeah, true enough. My uncle back in New Brunswick works at Point Lepré nuclear power plant. Safer than flying, he says. Yeah, absolutely. The power plant near the Blue Lagoon is under threat. Yikes. I don't actually know where the Blue Lagoon is, but, I will take your word for it, Jerry. The good old Blue Lagoon. Whoops. Once again, not an earthquake. I made contact with the desk again. All right. We're coming up to the end, guys. Get in your last questions. We'll finish them up, and we're going to be back here again, of course, soon. Oh, in Iceland. Okay. Yeah, that does not surprise me. I didn't know that it was called the Blue Lagoon, but I did watch a little bit of some of the live feeds coming out of Iceland, just because it's kind of neat watching a volcano. Watching lava is pretty cool too. Starbucks. I figure if I say Starbucks enough, they'll eventually hear me. Maybe they have like an app or something that lets them know when somebody mentions Starbucks. I don't know. Probably not. But so anyway, so once again, coming up this week for Friday's video, we got that update on the 0 to 100. So looking forward to that. We'll be back here Sunday. We're going to do another live stream, and that will be, of course, the news. So we have a lot of fun on Sundays for sure. So those of you who do not know, we have a Sunday live stream. We do. We have 2 live streams every week. This one, the market close on Wednesdays, and of course the Sunday one. Then we'll be back as well with another video coming up early next week, and that will be US. So it's going to be US narrow moat stocks. So basically the same as this current video, but for the US. So we'll have that pretty good. And Vancouver Isle guy says, I remember that movie, The Blue Lagoon. That kind of sounds familiar. Was it kind of a naughty movie? Just a thought. I thought it might be a bit of a naughty movie. I could be wrong, but A is in the house. Let's see. I love the market is red. So many buying opportunities. Yeah, absolutely. By the way, on a side note, love your bubbly stock collection. So colorful and organized. Any valuable information on Tesla, as I'm currently DCAing into Tesla. Okay. We'll start with the bubbly. Yeah, I'm in the process of replenishing my bubbly because it keeps going down. Uh, I guess that's because I drink it. But yeah, so it's basically now every time I order groceries, I'll order a couple of boxes, and then I'll just slowly get all of the flavors up, except for the very last one. That was the Christmas one, the Mary Berry, and you can't get it anymore. So that one we won't. So okay, Tesla now. Oh, Elon, Elon. Every time I think Tesla's at a low, he finds a way to take them a bit lower. But with that being said, I think DCAing into Tesla while they're down is not a bad idea. I can never count. I can never count Tesla down. They always find a way to come back. Now, keep in mind, it's kind of one of these things. Like I won't count them down. So I would say DCAing. I think you're doing the right thing. When it comes to Tesla. I know I'm starting to look a little bit at Tesla as well. So I'm starting to think about them, but I do think they're going to be. I think they will rebound. I think they will get back up again. How fast I don't know, but that's why DCAing works. Jerry says, "Do you think the market will crash?" I don't think we're going to see anything significant. I think we're going to see mini crashes. I think we're also going to see, and I kind of touched on this in my predictions for this year. I see a very sideways market overall for the first half of the year. So I see things going up and down, up and down. So we're going to get these corrections. But once we get into the rate cuts, and I think at that point, we're going to start to see some momentum that's going to move us in a much more bullish. And I actually see the second half of the year as us moving into a legitimate bull market, not just sort of because you got to keep in mind, there are technical bull markets and then there's a legitimate bull market. So for me, like the NASDAQ technically has been in a technical bull market. But I think once we hit that second half of the year, once we start getting these rate cuts, there's a lot more confidence in the market. I think we're going to see things get really interesting. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Hellgunner says cans is up 75%. Oh, wow. Finally, cans. Now, those of you who don't know what cans is, they basically make, cans for beverages. At one point, back in the olden day, I think at one point they were a sponsor for the High Rise show. And a lot of people got into them, and we hoped that they'd go up, but it looks like they're finally on their way up now. So that's not too shabby. Well, let's take a look at cans. Why not? We're here. We can look. CANS. Here we go. So Wild Pack Beverages. So they're on the TSXV, so the venture. So they're not quite big enough for the others. But let's take a look. I'm going to go with the 3-year. So, look at this. So back in the day, there was a lot of anticipation for this company. And I remember them being up around $1, but they didn't do very well in the bear market. But look at them now. They're starting to come back up. But once again, with a company like this, I don't think I would get in on them personally. I wish them well, but their fall into the bear market was epic. And I know a lot of people that lost a lot of money on cans, so they're not somebody I think I would jump in on. But at the same time, here's the thing. Is this a low? Can they recoup? Can they recoup back up to $1? Or in this case here, look at this. They were up at what $1.24 at one point. Can they recoup that? I would want to do a good amount of due diligence. But if they could, then that would be a really interesting addition. But I'm a little bit hesitant. And let's see here. Right now, they're still negative earnings per share. That has me a little scared. I'm not even going to look at their ROE. It's definitely negative. So, yeah, it's I don't I just don't like them. I'm sorry. If you like them, good luck. Good luck. I hope you make a lot. I hope you make a lot, and I hope I'm wrong. Let's see. A says, oops, we'll get rid of this. A says, thank you so much, Candace. I'm selling my cans and buying stocks. Nice, nice. Ian says, sometimes I put dish soap in there for bubbles. Oh, there you, really? Okay. And A says, I'm actually buying the YTSL. Yeah, so the YTSL, once again, covered call. So you get yourself a little bit of income from them. And YTSL, here's the thing. I did this thing in a bull market. So when the market is doing really, really well, you're better off just to have Tesla. Absolutely. But when the market's not doing so well, when the market is sideways, usually you'll probably make more off of YTSL during that time. But YTSL can have, you can make some money. I love swinging YTSL. It is a company that I love to swing. If I have a feeling, if I'm coming up on a Tesla earnings call and I think they're going to have a good call, I will dump some stuff into YTSL and I'll ride it up. Unfortunately, it's been a few earnings calls that I haven't been able to do that. But the last earnings call I did, it was fantastic. I think I made a couple $1,000, while the market was closed because of the earning call. And Naylor says, I'm adding to my YTSL too. Jerry says, what's a good Bitcoin ETF to buy? Okay, well, there's a few different ones. So in Canada, if you're looking for the yield, so for example, there's the Purpose Bitcoin yield. So that's BTCY. That one will give you roughly a 10% return on your investment through dividends. But once again, it will be capped a little bit. So if Bitcoin were to really explode, as everyone seems to think it will, you're not going to make as much. Now, you could go with something like BTCC, or if you don't want to even deal, like BTCC is a straight up spot Bitcoin ETF. But you could also go to, and that's also a Purpose. You could also go to BTCC.B. Now that one is unhedged, so it's not hedged to the Canadian dollar, which is, gives you a fairer price to Bitcoin straight up. But it really boils down to, I always say, look at the management fees. Try to get a lower management fee. So that's one of those things. So go with a lower management fee, unless of course you really, really want that extra income. If you want those dividends, then you've only got the one choice in that case. So, the BTCY. Let's see. And Enid was also wondering about the Bitcoin ETF too. Absolutely. Now, I just recently did a Bitcoin video, and I have all of them in there. Their management fees broken down. So check that out for sure. That will give you the management fees, and then you can sort of look at it and then sort of go from there. Now, here, the beautiful thing is, all of the spot Bitcoin ETFs are going to respond to the price of Bitcoin, obviously. So it's not quite as different. Let's see here. Skiz says, Candace, such a swinger with her swing trades. Yes, absolutely. Ian, she missed my question about bleach in the jacuzzi. Gosh. I don't know a lot about jacuzzis. It seems to me that a certain amount of bleach will actually disinfect. So, but there's probably specific pucks that are designed for it that will do a better job. And then that way there, you don't have to figure out exactly how much to use. So I would go with a jacuzzi puck opposed to just throwing straight bleach in there. But sometimes if you have like a well, so let's say you don't have a drilled well, but you have like just an old fashioned well. Some people will pour bleach into that water just to sort of disinfect, because if an animal or something were to die in the well, it will sort of help protect you that way. So, it's not gonna kill you, but, once again, go with the puck and you don't have to worry. Hello, sorry I'm late from King a Day. I wanted to catch the end of the stream later than never, right? Yeah, absolutely. Better late than never. And Enid says, thank you, Candace. I didn't watch your video as I wasn't looking into Bitcoin, but now I'm in a fear of missing out state. There we go. Yeah, I mean, check it out. I mean, don't go, I wouldn't go all crazy on it. Especially if you're not comfortable with Bitcoin, just, maybe get a little DCA going. It's one of these things. And keep in mind too, like I know people this was one of the things that scared me. There were people in the community back when Bitcoin was having its all-time highs, and they were like, oh my God, I'm making so much money with Bitcoin. I'm just going to sell all my stocks and throw it in. And then Bitcoin crashed. So I hope, because a lot of those people, I never saw them again. But I hope they didn't lose their shirts and everything with that crash. Because a lot of times people who are in that, the FOMO state, so fear of missing out, and they do something crazy like that, then they have a big crash. They're at that point where they're like, oh my God, I've lost everything. I better get out now. And those are the people who probably got out at 20,000 on Bitcoin. And now, now they probably, every so often when they hear Bitcoin's above 40,000, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. So, it's just one of those things. Bromine. Okay. BR. Bromine. And Vineet has come in at the very, very end of the stream. A says, I don't understand crypto and I don't touch it. Hope everyone makes the millions, but I only do what I understand. Yeah. And you know what? That's what Warren Buffett says. Warren Buffett says, don't invest in stuff you don't understand. And that makes sense. It's a situation where if you think like, if you're ever at a point where you're thinking, I kind of want to understand crypto, well, then go learn about it. But you don't need to. I mean, you can be a fantastic, successful investor without touching crypto. Well, Warren Buffett, once again, he's never touched crypto, at least as far as we know. I mean, maybe he has, and or maybe something he's invested in has had some exposure, at some point. But yeah, you never have to invest in something you don't understand. That is perfectly a good way of going. All right, everybody. Well, look at that. We did, oh my gosh, we did an hour and 11 minutes. And these things were it's funny, these streams were designed to be like, 20, 40 minutes. But how often do we stick to 20, 40 minutes? Well, I mean, 40 minutes. There's no way you can do it in 20 minutes because, we got 15 minutes, then the bell. Yeah. So that's fine. I think an hour is a good time for these market ones. Oh, Vancouver says need to do half and half. So what? Half chlorine, or sorry, half bleach and half bromine. What do you think of SQQQ? I think that's one of the NASDAQ ones. I do like the NASDAQ, but let me pull it up here. SQQQ. There we go. Let's see, ProShares Trust, and I'll bring this back up here as well, so you guys can see what I'm seeing. All right, let's take a look here. Let's go down here first of all. Look at this. It's an it's an inverse. Okay. Okay. So let me see here. Results before. All right. I did not realize this was an inverse. One of the issues that I do have, Jerry, is that when you start looking at some of these inverse ETFs, they almost always have leverage. So in this case, 3x. That scares me a little bit, only because when things do go wrong, like think of the people who, if you got into an inverse ETF on the NASDAQ, let's say at the beginning of last year, you could have potentially lost a lot of money. So one of the things, and this is kind of my philosophy on these inverse, is that if I'm ever going to play them, like if I clear cut know a certain market's going to fall all day, I will get in perhaps on that day, and I might make some swings, but I won't make long. I won't make multi-day swings using an inverse. So I use them as a tool for me, just to make a little bit of money, nice and fast, in and out, quick. But keep in mind, they're so dangerous because if it goes the wrong way, you're starting to lose money fast. And they can be scary. They can definitely be scary. They can be dangerous. So I always say, if you're getting into anything that uses leverage, be extra careful, and don't leave it unattended. It's like a candle in your house. You don't leave it going, because you could leave it alone and come back and see your house is on fire. That can happen with some of these leveraged ones. Now, I know some people will actually invest in both, and they'll use the leverage as kind of their hedge. But if you're doing that, here's one of the things I would do as well. I mean, maybe keep the leverage down 3 times lower, but at the same time, still, I know I could never, I can't recommend one of these as a long-term hold. Let's see. No need to do 1.5 hours. Okay, that's cool. Well, we're at 1 hour and 15 minutes here. Let's see, half and half. Okay, for the chlorine and bromide. Ian says, my head hurts between all the Spanish lessons, lack of sleep, and bleach. Yikes. Yeah, well, you gotta get add some sleep. I think that could be the big culprit. And then maybe you'll do a little bit better with the Spanish and the bleach. And also, when you're learning something new, a good night's sleep when you're in a learning phase is really good to help your brain cement what you've learned the day before. So just something to keep in mind. All right. So with that being said, we're at the 1 hour, 16 minutes. That's good enough for this one. We'll be back here once again. As I said, we'll do another live on Sunday. It's going to be cool. And, hopefully we pick up those remaining subs so that we can get to that comedy video, a parody video. It'll be fun. Anyway, until then, everybody, whoops, I can't do this. I can't say goodbye on a small screen. Until then, everybody, have a fantastic night. I hope the market treats you well the rest of the week, and we will, of course, see you on the live stream on the weekend. Bye, everybody. Take care. Have fun.